Hello guys, welcome back to another YouTube video here today. And today we are going to be going
I'm not
over
usually one
my
for pickup
radiation
lines.
Vex build. We have made a radiation Vex build. So we're going to start out by going over the skill tree. So for what we're using for the skill tree is we're using grave sites. You get a 15% critical damage per stack. So that gives us 35%, 45% extra critical damage at 3 stacks, which is very nice, considering we're hitting a lot of criticals with this build. 15 per stack. And then we put 5 points into Bloodletter, which will give us 30 gun damage, 30% of gun damage per second, 50% chance. The rotation is 4 seconds, max stacks 20. Target persistence, we were putting 5 points in here. Gives us a 15% gun critical hit chance. Our class mod puts 1 point into here, which gives us an extra skill critical hit chance. And then we went over here. We went with Radiant Attunement. So what Radiant Attunement does, it is an attunement skill that while a Vex is attuned to radiation, she gains increased splash damage and maximum shield capacity. The shield capacity isn't that great, but what we're looking at for this is the splash damage. The extra splash damage is magnificent on this build because since we are using all radiation, it is very, very good in using the bod radiation, and it is insane. Does some major damage. And then we put 5 points into Dreadlight. When Vex deals gun damage, there is a chance to spawn radioactive hazard, dealing radiation damage over time. Radio hazard chance 5%. Radio hazard damage is 3,221 per second. Hazard duration is 8 seconds. And then we put 5 points into Havoc, which our class mod also puts 5 points in here. Vex gains increased radiation damage and radiation status effect damage. So radiation damage is 80%, and radiation status effect damage is 60%. And that is for the green tree. And we decided to go in the red tree for this build. So we have a little bit of survivability too. So we've decided to go with Vex and her minions gain increased movement speed and damage reduction. So this is nice because we get a little bit more movement speed and the damage reduction is nice. We put 2 points in here because we decided we wanted to get down here. So um dealt vexing deals increase the action skill damage higher the health. We're not really using kinetic damage, so this is not really beneficial at all. So we put 2 points in here. And then we had to put 5 points in one of these to get down somewhere. And both of these I didn't think are really useful because we're not using trouble for one. So the gun damage ain't gonna benefit us. Here we're also not using trouble, so that's not really that useful. So we decided to put in kill skill, Vex and her minions gain over shield. And then we put 5 points into Vorpal Fiends, gives us 25% more critical hit damage. And then we put 4 points into Vex gains increased elemental damage. Double this effect while action skill is active. So we are getting a 32% elemental damage increase while this is active, plus our 80% radiation damage. So that's like over 100% elemental damage with those two skills right there. And then for the abilities, we're using Desecration, Phase Explosion, Eldritch Blast creates a hazard dealing damage over time for duration. Eldritch Blast is now homing. If it hits an airborne enemy, it bursts after a delay, dealing damage to other nearby enemies. It's really nice that it's homing now, so you don't really got to aim it. So it homes itself to the enemy. So you can just when you use it, it automatically homes to the enemy, and and then we're using Witchy Trigger Finger, which will give us extra gun damage, 15% gun damage per stack, which is gonna be a total of like 45% gun damage total. And then for the specializations I'm using on this build, we are using the best defense. Ball Hunter gains increased damage dealt based on fullness of shield or health, whichever is higher maximum capacity. And then we're using Riddle this, which gives you 1% gun damage per stack, maximum is 50 stacks. And then we're also using critical hits, grants increased status effect application, which gives us a chance to apply bleed more often. And then we are using Bullet Train. Haven't used in the build at all yet. Regarding this one, the Vault Hip Hunter cannot hip fire while sprinting, and the gun damage is the faster they move. Gain gun damage the faster they move. So this is pretty nice actually for this build because we move decently quick. Not super quick, but decent. Not not super quick. Don't expect to run around like Flash or whatever. And then for the weapons, we are using the complex root. And this one is a base of 2,987 damage. It has radiation and fire damage, but we're obviously using radiation here. For the plasma coil, we're using the plasma coil. There's better versions out there. This is a pretty terrible version. But we're using the plasma coil, and then we're using the ceramic bod and radiation of an SMG fire with torque stickies. We're not really using the bottle lightning, but it's here for the Deadeye. And the triple bypass could probably get one with splash damage or whatever, but I currently don't have one, so we're just using it for extra healing. And then we're using the rapid on best fashionina on kill gun with mail on licensed parts spread their status effect chance up to 3 nearby enemies. Guns with mail on licensed parts gain 25% status effect damage. Gun status effect damage is increased by 25%, which is really helping our complex root get some damage out there with bleed. And then we're using the watts for dinner. We're mostly using this for the siphon and airstrike and the bonus shock damage. When energy shields are empty, grants 20% melee damage. That's not that beneficial to this. But, and then for the class mod, what we made this build around, the Shimmer and Radiance, it puts 5 points in Havoc, 1 in the Key Mine, and 1 in the Dreadlight. And this one has 30% status effect application chance, 35% splash damage, and 50% health regen per sec. And actually, with our this it actually increases our health regen with that. So that actually does help us out with survivability. This is my radiation Vex build. I hope you guys enjoy this build. The save file will be in my Discord. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe and a comment down below what you think about this build. And I will see you guys in the next build video. Peace.